Oh, 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 let me put this down. Hello folks, Captain Moonbeam here. Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about bird strikes. For those of you that don't know, a bird strike is when an airplane hits a bird. Bird can be doing 50 knots, an airplane doing 250 knots at 2,000 feet. That's a combined velocity of 300 knots. And even a small bird can do damage to the aircraft. And of course, a big bird, a duck or a goose, can be devastating. Bird can go into the engine, it can take out some fan blades, and the engine can come apart. So it's a big deal. There was one bird strike that was on the news, a couple of years ago. That was the U.S. Air flight that I believe they hit geese right after takeoff, and they set the airplane down in the Hudson. They lost both engines in that case. One of the earliest aviation jobs I had, I lost, and I lost it due to a bird strike. But it's kind of a funny little story. I was a flight instructor, and I was doing charter out of Arkansas, and I had this contract job flying for the Corps of Engineers out of Dallas. And it would be a couple of days a month during the summer, and I would fly a 172 out there and pick up 3 of these Corps of Engineer guys. There was a biologist, a forester, and another fellow. And we would take off in this 172, and what we would do is we would fly the airways, the shorelines of lakes and stuff like that, looking for illegal dumping, pollution, people that were modifying the shoreline in some way and they didn't have a permit for it. So I had picked these guys up, and it was the middle of the summer, and we took off, and we were flying along, and we were down low, and we would turn with the waterway. It was one of the little rivers there in Texas. And as we came out of a turn, we rolled out, and right in front of us was a funnel of these turkey vultures. And we just went, we were there, we went right through it. And I was a fairly new pilot, didn't have a lot of experience, and I dove because I didn't want to hit him. Well, the bird that was coming right at us, he dove too. And wham! There was just a shuddering bang. The whole plane was shaking, and then it stopped. And I thought, okay, wait, there's no blood on the windshield, the engine's running, it's flying, we're fine. And then it dawned on me, what had happened was this turkey vulture had actually hit the tire. The tire's mounted on spring steel out there on the 172. I told the guys were, pretty surprised. I said, okay, we're fine. It hit the tire, we're good. So we kept flying along, and after a couple of minutes, we had an intercom in there we could talk over. One of these guys says, "Why'd you kill that bird?" I thought, I didn't kill that bird. I said, I didn't kill that bird. And the other guy says, yeah, why'd you kill that bird? I said, I didn't kill that bird. In all honesty, if I had wanted to, I could not have maneuvered that airplane fast enough to hit that bird if I wanted to. We just happened to both go down and meet in the air. Just one of those things. So, I told these guys, look, guy, that was an accident. They said, well, it looked like you went right towards him. Well, yeah, but that was the accident part. I didn't mean to go towards him, and I'm sure he didn't mean to head towards me either. We both expected the other to do something else. What I didn't know at the time then, which I know now, is that birds, when they're startled in the air like that by a predator, they'll dive. They'll dive for the ground, try to pick up speed. And we did the same thing, so we met. But those guys were convinced that I had intentionally hit that bird. So they never called me back. So I actually ended up losing that little job I had due to a bird strike. And I've got another bird strike story for you. Actually, I've had a number of bird strikes. Normally, there's no damage, and there's small birds, starlings, and little things like that, and you just have a little goose spot you clean off. But I've got another one where we're going into an airport, and it was the time of year where birds were flocking together. And this runway, right in front of it, there was like a little depressed area, a drainage area, where the grass was taller, and you could definitely see it was a drainage area, and it was just right off the approach end of the runway. And so we're in a King Air 200, and we're slowed down, and we're coming right up on the end of the runway, We're at our final approach speed, what would be ref, and right in front of us, all of these starlings flush out of this tall grass, and they just come right up in front of us. And of course, we're about to land. There's no place to go. And they break, and it looks like they're going off in two directions. They've split. And then all of a sudden, they just go in all directions. And we hit them. And it's just like pop, 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 pop. And this one lady in back screamed. I heard somebody shout birds, and we have hit, I don't know how many birds. 3 seconds later, we touch down and land. And taxi off, get out. There's blood everywhere on this airplane. And they're bodies of birds. They're birds that are like in the linkage of the gear and stuff like that. I've actually got a video of this airplane afterwards. But the good thing was not that we hit the birds, but that we hit them at such a slow speed. We actually had very, very little damage to the airplane. We had a couple of dents on the inlets that had to be worked out, and that was really the only damage. If we'd been doing at 3,000 feet, 250 knots, it probably would have been a different story. But another interesting thing about this also was all of the bird strikes we had were from the wing leading edge and down. There were none on the fuselage, none on the windshield, none on the tail, nothing like that. But the point is here, you really got to watch out for birds. I have seen birds as high as 5,000 feet. And I've read, articles about birds saying they've been reported much higher than that. I just recently put up a video where we were on an ILS, and the other pilot was flying. He was in the left seat, I was in the right seat. And the ceiling is 600 feet. And we broke out, and right in front of us was one of these columns of turkey vultures circling around. And he's on the instruments, and I'm outside, and I immediately say, birds. And he looks up and sees the birds, and just very calmly says, okay, I'm going to level off. Or actually, he actually climbed up above them, and you can see all the birds in front of us, these turkey vultures. They all roll off and dive. And he just eased it back down to the glide slope, and we landed without an incident. But, one thing you do need to remember about a bird strike, or encountering birds in flight, if they're in front of you, is they will tend to dive. That's what they tend to do instinctively. You can have bird strikes all times a year, but you're going to have more of them when they tend to flock, and they're migrating. And now we've got these bird sanctuaries and stuff. I think there are actually more bird strikes than there used to be because of this. But thanks again for watching. I really appreciate comments and likes. Please subscribe if you want more of this. And as always, fly safe.